we have my slides, and I'm thankful to Suvi, who has been working with us in Apollo a few years back, and he has presented that much that he is now able to do a good conference. I'm going to lie. So the topic is transcatheter aortic valve implantation, Benchside to bedside. You have been talking and you have been seeing a lot of cases, but I would like to give the historical aspect, because when I was working with Alain Cribier, it was at that time the animal models and other things were being discussed and being done, 1997-98. So I will also talk about one of the first cases of Edward valve from India, which we did in Rouen. So the transcatheter aortic valve implantation, which is now a very popular treatment for the aortic stenosis. So my plan of presentation will be the scope of balloon problem of degenerative aortic stenosis. I will also talk about little basic for the people who are here as a physician. What is balloon aortic valvoplasty, development of non-surgical aortic valve, and first in man implantation, case report and step by step, which was done in November 2011, and what are the future indications. The scope is degenerative aortic valve stenosis is the most common acquired valvular disease in the adults. 26% of the population above the age of 65 years has moderate, mild, moderate or severe aortic stenosis. 26% of the population. 2% are symptomatic and should require treatment. It is estimated that within 15 years the number of aortic stenosis will double because of the aging population. So aortic stenosis is very important, especially degenerative aortic stenosis, especially when the lifespan is growing up, and which is good for us. Valvular aortic stenosis in adults, average course, one symptom develop, the average survival is not more than 2 to 4 years. One symptom develop, the average survival is not more than 2 to 4 years. Surgical intervention should be performed promptly once even minor symptoms occurs. The prognosis of AS has not significantly changed since 1960s. In the elderly population more than 80 years, the prognosis is even worse. 30% of deaths within 3 months in patient list waiting for TAVI. 30% of death within 3 months in the patients on the waiting list for TAVI. So it's a very important disease. Surgical valve replacement has been the standard of care for decades. In standard risk patient, mortality for AVR is low, 2 to 5%. So aortic valve replacement in standard risk patient is one of the choice of treatment. Mortality and morbidity increase in patients with associated risk factors, age, depressed ejection fraction, and combined bypass surgery or comorbidity. So mortality and morbidity increases in patients of AVR when there is associated risk factors like age, depressed ejection fraction, combined bypass surgery or comorbidity. After successful valve replacement, very important, patient lifespan returns to that of general population. That means aortic valve replacement, whatever way, should be done in all patients who are severe aortic stenosis with symptoms. Balloon aortic valve, the first step towards TAVI was the 1985 when the first balloon valvoplasty was done. In the 80s, age per se was a contraindication for aortic valve replacement. In general, 95% of AVR patients was less than 75 years. 95% of AVR patients were less than 75 years. September 1985, the historic day when Dr. Cribier performed the first balloon aortic valvoplasty, 72-year-old woman, highly symptomatic, severe, several daily syncope, NYHA class 4, angina, declined for surgery 3 times, and the 2 years, this was the first very important, and the 2 years without symptom returned to normal life. This was a memorable reaction to the medical community. I remember, I have seen the video. Many people from US joined Dr. Cribier in Rouen to see this historical balloon aortic valvoplasty, which was planned. It was published in Lancet, 1986, January 11. So this was the first balloon aortic valvoplasty. This is the first step towards TAVI. A specific balloon catheter was developed by the Mansfield, and it was also known as Cribier-Latac balloon. Latac was a surgeon working with Alain Cribier in the same hospital, Rouen Hospital, Charles-Nicotte. So Cribier-Latac balloon catheter was developed. It was known like this. Balloon aortic valvoplasty in 90s, thousands of cases were performed at that time. Thousands of cases. Impressive number of registries include the US Mansfield and NHLBI registries. FDA approval also happened in restricted indications, but there was important limitation: early valvular restenosis and no beneficial effect on long-term mortality. This was an important limitation of balloon aortic valvoplasty. It was discovered, it was found out in the 90s, despite having FDA approval. Solving these issues became a personal obsession for Dr. Cribier, and therefore he developed transcatheter heart valve. In 2015, BAV, now today, I'm talking of today, the BAV has become a simpler and safer percutaneous technique, and this is the first step before valve implantation. Now we do a rapid ventral pacing. Balloon size has come down from 20, 23, 25 millimeters, smaller sheet size per close technique. This is just a comparison with 1985 and today. So what is how we develop the non-surgical aortic valve and first in man implantation? Since 1985, development of innovative technologies in the field of valvular disease. 1985 was the year of valvular angioplasty, and 2002 was the first transcatheter aortic valve was developed. And I would like to remind one of the very important saying, when Dr. Cribier always says, don't undertake a project unless it is manifestly important and nearly impossible. This was Edward Land. He took the project which was manifestly important. It was nearly impossible at that time to be done. Developing TAVI, it was an unrealistic project, implanting a valve prosthesis within the diseased calcific aortic valve on a beating heart using percutaneous catheter-based technique. This was the actually concept. Improving the result of balloon aortic valvuloplasty without any restenosis. It was highly challenging. Why? In the valvular calcification, there are surrounding structures, coronary arteries, mitral valve, IV septum, and major clinical issues was coronary occlusion, if there is something mismatched, mitral valve injury, permanent TAVI block, stroke, aortic regurgitation, prosthesis migration, non-lasting result. These were the challenges of clinical issues: coronary occlusion, mitral valve injury, permanent TAVI block, stroke, AR, prosthesis migration. Birth of the concept of stented valve in AS. Usual observation, this was a hypothesis. During BAV, any calcified valve can be circularly opened by a high pressure balloon. Any calcified valve can be circularly opened by high pressure balloon. A balloon expandable stent with a high radial force might keep the valve open. A balloon expandable stent with a high radial force might keep the valve open. A valvular structure would have to be attached within the stent. A valvular structure had to be attached within the stent. A challenging combination of balloon expandable frame and the valve structure. So there was a need for a challenging combination of balloon expandable frame and the valve structure. So validating the concept of stented valve, there were a lot of autopsy study performed 1994. Balloon expansion force, frame distortion, optimal dimension, traction force, and you can see the figure post-BAV, post-stent longitudinal view. Circular stent opening, high traction force to dislodge the stent. And it was also discovered that the height of the stent should be about 14 to 16 mm, diameter should be at least 23 mm, and you can see coronary ostia just above IV septum and mitral valve. So these were the optimal dimension of the frame which was conceptualized in an animal model and postmortem studies. 1994, the drawing area conceiving the model of transcatheter aortic valve, the Cribier 1984, uni-bi- trilateral valve, stainless steel stent, highly resistant to compression, should be used. Polymer or biological valve should be used inside the stent. And J.P. Bessou, who was a cardiac surgeon in Rouen, he developed a crimped diameter 8 mm handmade model of stented valve in 1994. So this was our initial ideas. 1994 to 1999, Dr. Cribier and his team, they were looking for the sponsor. This is very, very interesting. Project was submitted to all biomedical companies, including Medtronic and Edwards. Listen, now Medtronic and Edwards are selling like hotcakes. Project was submitted to all biomedical companies, including Medtronic and Edwards. Opinion of the experts from them: technically impossible, clinically dangerous, irrelevant, the most crazy project ever submitted. This was the response which Medtronic and Edwards gave to Alain Cribier in 1994-99, that it is technically impossible, clinically dangerous and irrelevant, the most crazy project ever submitted, and forget. 1999, foundation of PVT, which was a company which Dr. Cribier and Martin Leon they made in America, percutaneous valve technologies. They designed the valve, PVT valve design concept, extensive laboratory testing, animal programs, sheep model, acute and coronary studies, and they finalized a device which was tri-leaflet bovine pericardial valve, stainless steel frame of stent diameter of 23 mm. This was another company, because Medtronic and Edwards had rejected the idea. They made their own company with the PVT, percutaneous valve technology, with Martin Leon, Alain Cribier and a few others. And then they designed this stent at that time. This was 1999. And from 1999 to 2002, when the first in man implantation happened, there were a lot of sheep studies and animal implantation. So April 16, 2002, Rouen France, first in man implantation of aortic valve was done. This was a very historical day. 57-year-old male, young male, cardiogenic shock, multiple comorbidities, aortofemoral bypass graft occlusion, transseptal approach was used at that time. Now it's a retrograde approach, transseptal approach, and this you can see the photograph of that day, the immediate hemodynamic improvement, 30 minutes post-implantation, the photograph, 8 days post-implantation, the man who was dying in Rouen in 2002, April 16, and lesson what was learned from this first in man implantation: feasibility of TAVI was established, number one. No THV, the transcatheter heart valve was embolization. No coronary occlusion, no MR happened, no aortic valve, AV heart block. Mild AR was there, optimal valvular function, immediate hemodynamic improvement. This was the result or conclusion of this first in man implantation. From 2002 to 2005, there was a heroic period in Rouen. 40 patients were done through the I Revive and Recast trials. Compassionate use, imminent death patients were used. Those were imminent death and inoperable patients. They were only used for the purpose of doing this there. Retrograde transform approach was also developed at that time. This was the antegrade approach through the Transcatheter, which Dr. Cribier was doing the first time. Then the retrograde approach, which was going through this. The challenge was to demonstrate the potential benefit of a disruptive technology on a subset of critically ill patients with 5 life-threatening comorbidities. So 2002 to 2005, the heroic period in Rouen, I Revive and Recast trial, THV design, equine picotin was used now. 4 patients survived more than 5 years and 1 patient survived more than 6 years. Just to give an example of the patient who survived, 83-year-old, severe AS, multiple comorbidity, declined AVR, 2 BAV procedures, NYHA class 4, cardiogenic shock, acute inferior anterior MI, TVR was done in the last resort option, day 15. Then you see this lady 6 months post TAVR. Then this was Washington meeting TCT 2004. This was 1 year post TAVR, and now 2 years post TAVI, and she survived for 6 years or 6.5 years post TAVI. No device dysfunction. The aortic valve area 1.68, gradient of 12 mm of mercury. 2004 onwards, TAVI enters a new era. Why? Because now Edward Life Sciences, which had rejected the idea, now acquires PVT. This is what happens, a big bull. But they acquired the PVT. They thought that this is a very interesting project. Now they had rejected in 1999. Now they acquired PVT. TAVI enters a new era, new valves, new delivery systems, new approaches. Cribier Edward valve, which was earlier known, was changed to Edward Sapien valve. So Cribier Edward valve was actually equine pericardium. Sapien was now treated bovine pericardium, 50% external coverage. Transfemoral approach was used, which was John Webb, who started in Canada, the antegrade approach. And then also there are few surgeons who were doing transapical approaches. So this is from 2004 to later on, there were a lot of Edward Sapien valve was developed, retrograde approach, antegrade approach was also there, transfemoral, retroflex, catheter, these are the technical things. And then of course, the new delivery sheath, retroflex 3, now we have nose cone, the sheath of 22 French. And then all European registries were there from 2006 to 2009, and 2009 onwards the partner US trial, which was very important. So partner trial, which I like to focus upon, is a very important trial which actually established in USA, and that gave you FDA approval. This was a crucial milestone for the high-risk patients and inoperable patients. So again, not for the normal risk patients, high-risk and inoperable patients, published in New England Journal of Medicine, October 2010, Martin Leon and Dr. Cribier.
Dr. Vivek, please conclude.
Conclude?
Yeah.
Just give me 3-4 minutes. TAVI, a valid alternative to AVR in high-risk patients. TAVI is the treatment of choice in inoperable patients. These are 2 conclusions which was achieved. TAVI is a valid alternative to AVR in high-risk patients, and TAVI is a treatment of choice in inoperable patients. And marked and long-lasting results were approved. At the same time, Medtronic core valve, which is a self-extending valve, was being developed by Medtronic, and they also had a lot of trials. France 2 source registry, I'm not going to details. TAVI in France, they had a huge number of them which were published in New England Journal of Medicine. I would like to summarize this, I'm not so the case then. 1985 was the first aortic valvoplasty. 1994 was the postmortem studies of intravalvular stenosis. Then percutaneous valve technologies, 1999. Animal and expanded implantation in sheep in 2000. 2002 was the first transcatheter TAVI implantation, first in man. Feasibility studies, antegrade approach, Edward Life Sciences acquired in 2004. And 2005 to 7, the international data registry, a CE mark, which was the European CE mark, was given in 2007. Since 2007, EU partner US pivotal trial, 2008 to 10. October 2011, FDA approval with non-surgical patients, and for inoperable high-risk patients, October 2012, FDA approval. In guidelines were there. Core valve at the same time was being developed. Core valve got the FDA approval in 2014 in March. A long clinical pathway from 25 years from BAV, 18 years from concept, 17 years from first in man implantation. I would not like to give you the case which we did in November 2011. If you give me 2 minutes, I would like to show the last clip of this, which was the first Edward case at least done in France with an Indian patient from Mohan Nagar. 18 French sheet was used at that time. I would like to show the last slide of the valve implantation. This was an 84-year-old male post-bypass nephropathy, lung function disturbed, COPD rejected or refused by surgeons, referred to us, went to France with the initial workup in India, and we implanted this valve through the percutaneous technique without any general anesthesia. This was actually, Dr. Cribier always does without general anesthesia. He's a just in the local mild sedation of midazolam. This Novaflex sheath progressing up, and you can see the valve which is being going down. So precise implantation, the precise positioning is very, very important. It's 1/3 inside the valve and 2/3 in the LV cavity, and this is how the stent is deployed. Just like any stent, which is balloon expandable stent or balloon expandable valve, and the result was perfect. I was there, scrubbed with him, and the patient was discharged the 3rd day. The gradient reduced. There was a mild AR which reduced further. Patient lived for at least for 7 years. He died recently because of lung dysfunction and as well as nephropathy in CKD. So this was the fluoro result of that patient. The creatinine was 2.8 and the returned down 2 days and discharged on the 5th day. 7 years clinical echo follow-up is doing well. Patient, however, he died recently because of the lung dysfunction as well as the TAVI can be easily performed in relatively high-risk patient with conscious sedation in minimum time of 45 to 50 minutes. Perhaps this was the first Indian patient to receive Edwards valve. Last slide is there's 350 as of now. 350,000 valves have been deployed worldwide. Both Edward and Core valves are the pioneers. Core is from Medtronic. Edward is doing the same Cribier valve. So finally, the last slide I would like to repeat. 1985 to 2011, when the FDA approval happened, lot of work was done. It was not easy to conceptualize the idea. This was a Benchside to Bedside, animal experimentation, postmortem studies, First In Man feasibility study, then Edward, rejected by Edward, then Edward taking over. So now this is one of the important development of this century. And I would say that this is actually a real great hard work of Alain Cribier, who started with this idea, and now TAVI is a very important, and we are doing even in India we are doing a lot of cases. Edward is still not easily available because now they have to be a registry, but Core valve is now available in the shelf in most of the hospitals, many hospitals in India. Thank you very much for talking about listening to this.
Thank you, Dr. Vivek Gupta, for telling us about the history of TAVI, and chairpersons for any comments.
Yeah, so I think that was very complete history of TAVI procedure. So Dr. Gupta, compliment for giving such a lucid presentation on the subject. In the interest of time, we'll have just one question from the floor and then we'll close this session. Any comments?
This is very important. Actually, the cost has not come down. So packages have been made by different hospitals, and as I can understand, about 17 lakhs package, which is about in most of the hospitals in Delhi and in South, the part of the package. When the cost of this, in fact, 17 or 23, something like that. It's very
so I think the Merrill valve.
How much is the cost there?
Is 15 lakhs, so that costs around 12 lakh 84,000. The my valve. And the
my valve is little cheaper than Edwards.
Both the Core valve and the Edward valve, they are 22 lakhs. So overall procedure cost would be around 25 lakhs. Not yet.
Thank you very much.
Next, chairperson to give memento to Dr. Vivek Gupta.